Hello and welcome to Dialogue. I'm Zhou in Beijing. The driverless car is coming. In fact, some are already on the streets. But what has to happen before they take over and change driving culture completely? There are issues of technology and, of course, of also law, ethics, efficiency, and personal choice. So what is the state of the industry in China and the rest of the world? What are the dangers, the opportunities, and that come with the driverless car? And how do we ensure a smooth ride to the future? To talk about these and more, I'm happy to be joined in the studio by Mr. Li Yusheng, Chief Engineer of China's Chang'an Automobile Group, and Yimin, China CEO of the Mass Transit Railway Corporation. But before we get started, let's take a look at this.
The driverless car, which is likely to be one of the single biggest technological shifts of the century, is getting closer to everyday reality. Research into driverless car technology started many years ago and will continue to change how we live.
Of course, we are working on autonomous driving. First steps we already have in the market. The new 7 Series, as you know, can park itself completely automatically without a driver. So we can drive on the highway without putting hands to your steering wheel. So first big steps are done already. And of course, we continue to further develop it until one day it will be fully autonomous driving.
However, a number of unresolved questions still exist, such as when an accident becomes unavoidable and the car itself has to make an ethical decision. Google first announced the formation of its driverless car division in 2010. As of March 2016, it had test driven its fleet of vehicles in autonomous mode a total of nearly 2.5 million kilometers. But on February 14, 2016, a Google self-driving car attempted to avoid sandbags blocking its path. During the maneuver, it struck a bus. And for the first time, Google partially admitted responsibility for the incident involving its autonomous car. Worldwide, at least 18 companies are developing autonomous cars, including BMW, Audi, and Toyota. And China's driverless car technology is also developing fast. The Boston Consulting Group forecasts that global sales of driverless cars will reach 12 million by 2035, with more than a quarter sold in China. Baidu, which has partnered with German premium car maker BMW in researching autonomous driving technology, successfully completed its first road test in Beijing last December, and has set itself the goal of putting self-driving cars on the road within 3 years. 2 driverless cars produced by Chang'an Automobile in China started a 2,000-kilometer test drive from Chongqing to Beijing on April 12th this year, and arrived in the capital on April 16th. Chang'an is aiming to put driverless cars into commercial use in 2018.
You're now watching Dialogue, and today we're going to talk about driverless car. But first of all, there are several terms to clarify. Driverless car, self-driving car, intelligent car. Do they mean the same, or do they have different meanings that refer to?
I think I can give a simple explanation. Actually, normally for driverless cars, we think the driver is not there. That's more advanced. I prefer the term automated car. So at a certain stage, the vehicle drives by itself. At most time, it drives by a human being. And another term says autonomous car. Autonomous car may be driverless car, maybe drive in there but doing nothing. That's basically the term.
But what is going the future be like for cars and automobile? What's the relation between humans and automobile in your mind?
In the future, actually, car now is just a transportation. People need to drive it somewhere. As technology advances, more automated things happen. Like we are using cruise control. You drive on the highway, you push a button, the car drives by itself at a certain speed. Now we got a radar in front, we have adaptive cruise control. When the car looks at the slower vehicle in front, it slows itself down. That's one step more, that's automated more. That's the way we go. In the future, when everything it's automated, so it's autonomous car.
And Mr. Yi, what do you think the future of transportation will be looking like?
Well, first of all, I would say if you look at a metro and high-speed train, it's already achieved a driverless driving system. We call this ATO system. Okay, but in future, I do believe that the driverless car is available, technology available, but we are using this kind of car in future is a question. We need to carefully planning and thinking.
But let's talk about the technology itself. What kind of skills does it take to drive a car? For human beings, it needs at least hand and brain coordination. It needs pattern recognition. Can computers and softwares do all those things? Are our softwares sophisticated enough to take over human beings?
For take over human beings, we are on our way there. But most of the time now we are using sensors to recognize the environment. We have radar, we have camera, we have laser, and potentially we have night vision in the future. Use all those, we call it sensors, to get the information around the vehicle. And the software behind it to recognize the environment, to put things together, to see it's a vehicle, it's moving, it's a human, whatever it is. It reconstructs the whole environment. And then, based on the environment, to do some decision making. To then, based on those decisions, send it to the command to brake, to the powertrain, or to the steering wheel to let the vehicle move as directed.
You are an industry insider. How sophisticated is this technology right at the moment? Is there different approaches to autonomous driving, as you say?
Currently, there's two approaches. Like Google, the big company, they are doing fully autonomous vehicle. They are using a laser scanner to scan the environment. They are using high-definition map to see where the vehicle really is on the map. So that's the case. It knows the environment completely, and then it drives the vehicle, follow the direction it goes. But this technology needs a lot of computational power, a lot of data, and very expensive sensors. To be in production to deliver the regular consumer, it takes some more time. Another approach is just like the automakers. We are doing things step by step. Let's say, I just use an example. First, we have cruise control. Then we have adaptive cruise control. The next step, we use a camera to recognize the lane mark, and then add the lane centering. We can keep the vehicle in the center of the lane, and use the ACC go in front. In that way, the vehicle can follow one lane, go automatically by itself. And then, next step, we add more sensors. The vehicle can go on highway to overtake other vehicles, pass other vehicles. The next step, use more sensors. We can recognize human being, motorcycle, bikes on the street. Next step, in the city, intersections, traffic lights, speed limits, all different things need to be added on.
So you are asking actually automobiles to communicate with one another, to communicate with infrastructure.
We can have the vehicle talk to each other. The vehicle in front is braking, it's not by the vehicle behind it to see the brake lights. It sends out signals, wireless signal, directly to the cars following, says, I am braking. At what level of brake? The cars following the braking cars can receive the message at several, let's say, 50 milliseconds. And it just follow the brake at the same level. So all the vehicles slows down at the same level, same speed.
So this is kind of system that is smarter and quicker to respond than human beings driving on their own.
Right,
is that the correct
right.
understanding?
Yes, yes. And use this stage, it actually can speed up the the traffic, because there's a research out there that says if one vehicle has a hard brake, every vehicle follows have a hard brake. And after that, the vehicle in front goes, every vehicle follows goes. And then the traffic have a kind of shock in the middle. But if the vehicle brakes, send out signals, the other vehicle knows. All the vehicle follows can brake at the same level and start up at the same level. So that makes the traffic more smooth.
But can the two approaches that you mentioned cope with uncertainties, just like you mentioned, a pedestrian crossing the street, or an animal crossing the street, or any other sudden events?
There's two ways. If the pedestrian crosses the street, the first vehicle using sensors to find it, you take all the actions. Other way is if the pedestrian carry a cell phone, the cell phone with certain device. Now we call it, for example, the DSRC device, send out signals, says I'm crossing a street. All the other vehicles on the road can receive that signal. It doesn't need the sensors at that stage. We were talking about only on the cars, but we go up one level, traffic management.
Yeah.
If we have car-to-car communication, we also have car-to-infrastructure communication. Roadside, there's a device out there to receive signal that says this vehicle passing at a certain speed, how many vehicles in here, and the traffic management in the back. They can see, say, in Beijing, certain road, a lot of traffic. I can send out suggestion to those guys, says, you should go this route, it's easier. And those
Do you think it is easier to make this happen in China? Because in China we have a more centralized system, better integrated between different regions and municipalities. In the US, different state, different laws. In Europe, it's different countries all over. So maybe it is ideal for China to adopt the system first because we have better coordination, better integration. Do you agree?
Totally agree. Because we do have a very serious traffic problem here, plus pollution, a lot of things. In China, the central government have very strong power to control the infrastructure constructions. So in that way, although we do not have a V2X standard, but I think after we get the standard done, China will get the V2X technology populated much faster than the Western countries.
What are the key problems such a intelligent, autonomous automobile system can solve? Is it to reduce traffic accidents, reduce congestion, or is it improve people's convenience from getting from A to B?
I think all of them. First, for reduced traffic congestion, like I just used the example. So if we can direct the vehicle to certain directions using the big data in the background, we can better management the system, traffic system. Another way, the V2X can smooth up the traffic flow, make it travel more fast, more smoothly, and less vehicle on the street stopping their running. So that means less pollution. And autonomous vehicle basically designed to be a safety as the first priority. So anything happen, safety is first, and then it take another the approach.
Mr. Yi, do you have any worries about this kind of system, or in your mind there are challenging things that the designers must overcome?
Well, to me, I think this is a great idea if we can develop this system. Especially in my industry, we call this last mile solution, because a railway cannot reach to your home by last mile. But this one, I'm sure currently we have mobile phone apps available. You can order a car. If it is driverless, that would be great. However, I think the most important thing is we need to resolve the whole legal framework, resolve the cloud data collection and processing system. Also, there's more risk on the technical error, because one thing is avoiding human error, right? The driverless car is avoiding human error. My problem is, what about the technical error in future? For instance, electricity and website, all this rely upon the one system.
Okay, the reliability of the system called at question. We'll talk about all these, the technical, ethical, legal, and personal challenges facing driverless cars in the future. You're now watching Dialogue. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Let's continue our talks on the reliability of a driverless society. If a software designer have to design the system to let cars drive on itself, there are several questions. How do you prioritize your order system? For example, the car is owned by its user. If there is a collision, who is responsible for the accident? Should the software design put the safety of the drivers and passengers inside first, or put the safety of other pedestrians and vehicles at first? How do you prioritize those things?
It's a good question. Talking about autonomous vehicles, every time this question pumps up. Actually, for autonomous vehicle, it's always designed to be safe first. Safety is the first priority. Traffic rule is always
But
followed.
Safety for whom? Safety for passengers or safety for pedestrians?
For everybody. Safety for everybody. Because the vehicle, we know we need to detecting everything. And then we detect everything to be sure everything around, everything is safe. We drive the vehicle. On the safe side, anything in question, the decision we take is on safe side. That's one thing. Second thing is electrical system software make less errors than human being. That's is a problem.
Let me pin you down on the first one. For example, if there is a passenger inside a car and the car is driving itself, and there is a pedestrian crossing the street, in order to avoid that passenger in front, the computer has to decide whether to save the passenger inside the vehicle by running over that pedestrian or by running the car into a wall beside it. What kind of choices does the computer make?
It's a hard
does the
question.
software designer has the mandate to say which choice should be made?
It's a very hard question. Actually, this kind of question cannot be, this kind of situation, the autonomous vehicle shouldn't be in, because
Shouldn't be involved in.
should be in this kind of situation, because when we design the autonomous vehicle, it shouldn't speeding. It should detect the person in front. That's all thing avoided. To make this decision, every hard to make decision when we design a software, there's a team of developers inside there to decide which approach to take. But for ethnic things, it's not. I don't think it's engineer or software developers task. But the software or engineer, the design vehicle shouldn't involved into that situation. That's
You are saying the technology should be sophisticated enough to avoid the computers to make such kind of decision.
right.
But are we at this stage already?
Currently, as we implement the technology, we are at that stage because we are on the safe side. If that's go or no go, there's a little bit of risk, it's no go. And you can put another thing. If you know a little bit of the autonomous driving technology, you can make every trick to make the vehicle stay on the street, never move. It won't take any risk.
So to be safe first.
To be safe first.
What about the legal implications, as I just mentioned? If an autonomous car get involved in an accident, who should be blamed?
If the drive, put it that way, recently in US, Google involved in accident. Google said it takes the responsibility.
Not the passenger.
Not the passenger, because it's
Not the
by
dealer.
the autonomous driving system driving at the moment it the accident happened. So in that case, U.S. some of the states treat the autonomous driving system as a driver. So if the autonomous driving system on the street has an accident with a vehicle, so first traffic law says whose side it takes the responsibility. That's the first thing. If it is an autonomous vehicle,
then the manufacturer takes the responsibility.
Yeah, that's
So
I
does
personally
that mean,
agree with that.
Does that mean manufacturers, car makers, will take on too much risks when such a system is used extensively or all over the world?
Agree. Yeah, that thing probably makes the automaker more cautious on putting this kind of vehicle on the street because it has to take the responsibility. That means also the good news for consumer. The technology must be very mature to put for this kind of technology to be put on the street.
And also the economic implications. When there is a society that is made up of cars driving itself, there is less drivers, taxi drivers, professional drivers. Those people lose jobs, and there are new jobs that are creating autonomous cars. What is the economic implications for this world?
Well, first of all, I think the very interesting, I believe, is need more management. Like Dr. Lee said, with technical side, we have already got result, right, and the solutions. But I think we need to develop more management system to avoid the things happen like that. Right. The second thing is back to your question. I would predict the future is like this: every morning you wake up, you take metro. I think this is a solution for China because we have less land and more population. You take metro, going to work, and you call an APP, find a driverless car, going to your office. If you still enjoy the driving, you can go to the driving club to experience yourself. And also we need to create more jobs. For instance, like cloud data collection, processing, and more lawyers, like you mentioned, more people working on the cloud, and also working on the framework. We work together, and more people working on the management system. I'll give you an example, like urban management system, because by the time we need to have more management on the metro, high-speed train, and pedestrian, and also the car system. So it's a supplement.
You mentioned a very interesting aspect, that is how the car use will be looking like in the future. Is it possible that there will be no personal cars? People are using car hailing services instead because of autonomous driving.
There's one opinion on that because it's autonomous driving says we are at a very advanced autonomous driving stage.
We can book a car in advance. That's
you can
more
book
efficient.
a car. Yeah, you can book a car. And
I don't need to own a car.
When you need a car, the car is downstairs waiting for you. When you get to your destination, just say goodbye to the car, and it's gone by itself. You don't need a personal car.
So the automobile will no longer be a personal possession, but a public transport means. Will that be the reality in the future?
It's one way to go that way, but another way is maybe people still want to own a car. They say, when I want to drive, I drive. When I don't want to drive, let the system drive for me. So that's another way because some people like driving. Some people just like, you don't know, you don't question that. They say, I want to drive, but to drive on the street means he might have some problems because everything's drive by system, follow the rules exactly. Human can sometimes make mistakes. So I don't know because I think one solution I can imagine is every kind of car with a system driving with the green lights on. The car with the human driving with the red lights on, so everybody knows this is human driving car. That's another way.
Since you mentioned this, I want to ask you two things. That is, if I want to drive simply for the fun of it, will I be able to do it in the future? Secondly, as you said, if a car can drive by itself or it can be driven by a human being, what kind of transition does it take? It's going to be safe? It's going to be smooth? what will it be like?
For the first question, if someone want to drive, there's one way. It's on a certain area you can drive by yourself. That's in that area human can drive.
But if all the automobiles are driverless, there won't be a feature. There won't be an installation for drivers, human drivers, to exist.
You can design an area for human to drive just for fun of them, like the racing.
That will be totally different design, wouldn't it?
No, that should be the same like a racing track. If you drive your car, go to a racing track. You drive inside there. Whatever you want to do, drive inside there.
So you are saying that we can only drive cars in the racing
That's one solution.
track, not on the roads any longer.
That's one solution. Another solution is you can drive on the public road, but probably just like I said, take a different sign, very obvious sign, says I'm driving the vehicle, not the system. So that way the system sees this kind of sign, must be very cautious about it. For the transition now is, for current design, it's quite easy. If you don't touch anything, the system goes. If you touch anything, the control back to you. You want to touch it, you want to drive it, I give the control to you. It's very smooth.
But to see the control from automation to human beings takes time. Can that window of time be dangerous for the automobile and the passengers?
It depends on the...
Because it takes passengers to realize where I am and where I'm heading and what kind of a moves I should make.
That's the typical question.
And the car is still driving at 65 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's a typical question at, let's say, not fully autonomous driving stage. At the automated driving stage, in the certain scenarios, the system cannot handle the scenario. So there's a level for automated driving levels. At certain level, the system needs a human to be monitoring the environment constantly. In that case, if there's a danger or anything comes up, the driver takes over it immediately. No lagging time. But higher level, the system can predict certain things will happen in the future. Might give you 10 seconds to let you wake up to see what happened. In that stage, probably we need a driver monitoring system to see what the driver is doing at that moment. If he's kind of reading a book, probably I'll give him more time. If he's looking in front, he may need less time.
Very briefly, what does the future be looking like for cars in about 10 years, Mr. Lee?
10 years, probably half the vehicle will have at a higher automated drive level with very non-automated vehicle on the street. The traffic will be mixed. But
half and half.
Half and half, and probably in China, for the non-automated vehicle, I think there'll be requirement for V2X device. You got to send out some signal says, I'm here, to other automated vehicles. In that case, it's easy to manage the traffic and easy for everybody on the safety side.
All right, and that's still evolving, and we will keep a close watch on that. Thank you very much, Mr. Yi, and thank you very much, Mr. Li, for that. And you've been watching Dialogue here on CCTV News. I'm Joe in Beijing. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.